Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Chess TV. This is the last regular episode of this season. Next week we'll start airing summer specials. So for this episode we've worked really hard to make sure you enjoy it. In this week's episode, Arne Johansson talks about early American chess and Charles H. Stanley. That's also the premises of this week's challenging chess puzzle. And Alfred and Adriana gives us the last and final piece of the Slav defense. But before we hand over to them, here's an update on what's been going on in the world of chess. I don't think anyone missed what turned out to be a real nail-biter, the World Championship match between defending champion Anand and challenger Gelfand. Going into the match, many thought that it would be maybe not easy, but not a super challenging match for Anand. After all, he has held the title for lots of years by now, and Gelfand is only rated number 20 in the world. But boy were they wrong. Gelfand proved to be an excellent match player, sticking it out and challenging his opponent to the very end. The match even had to go into tie breaks. But in the end, Anand prevailed and showed the world once again that he really is the world champion. So huge congratulations to Anand, who didn't just win the title, but also over $1.5 million. I guess Gelfand can comfort himself with the over $1 million he got for challenging the world champion. A rather unique online chess event has just started and will be taking place until August. It's an open online Blitz Grand Prix with a prize fund of more than 30,000 euros, making it the first online competition with such a huge prize fund. The competition will include 4 qualifying tournaments on the first and last Sundays of June and July, starting on June the 3rd. The final and super finals tournament will take place August 14th to 15th. The Grand Prix is organized by the Russian Chess Federation. It is open to everyone and all players compete with the same rules and conditions. Even though many leading chess players will participate, no one will be able to play in the finals without winning in the qualification tournaments. To be able to play, you do however need to be a member of Chess OK Playing Zone, and would like to wish everyone good luck. And let's not forget that right now the Women's World Rapid and Blitz Championship 2012 is being played in Batumi, Georgia. So many of the top female players around the world are participating, like Anna Muschik and Cornelia Hampu. The winner will be crowned on June the 6th when the $100,000 prize fund will be distributed among the extremely tough playing field. So good luck to all the players. China's brightest stars are currently battling it out in the 3rd Danzhou Grandmaster Tournament. The competition is more than simply a national tournament of the highest level. With a generous prize fund, the champion will also earn a spot on the Chinese team and join them in the upcoming Olympiad in Istanbul. Among the 10 players where there is obviously a lot of talent and skill. Grandmaster Wang Yu is top rated, but a lot of people are rooting for the women's world champion Hu Yifan, who is rated number 7 in the starting field, so good luck. The Georgian Men's Championship was held in the Chess Palace in the capital city of Tbilisi. In the final round, Yobava Badur bet David Arutunian and became the champion of Georgia for the 3rd time and received his trophy from none other than the ex-world champion Garry Kasparov. Congratulations. Another national championship that was recently decided was the Icelandic Championship, which was won by Grandmaster Tostr Thorhallsson. Thorhallsson was crowned the Icelandic champion in chess after beating I.M. Bragi Thorfinnsson in an extraordinary close and exciting match. Thorhallsson and Thorfinnsson were joint winners of the Icelandic Chess Championship in April this year, the strongest Icelandic championship so far during this century. They first played in a 4-game match which ended 2-2, 1 victory each and 2 draws last Monday. Employing a similar system and playing out the games during the same time as Anand and Gelfand did in their World Championship match, Thorhallsson eventually emerged as the winner. But now it's time for Adriana and Alfred, so here we go.
In last week's episode, we looked through the Slav defense, which the world champion Anand used especially in the first half of the World Championship match against Gelfand. Anand didn't follow the main line, but did instead deviate by playing a6 as his fifth move. And so we decided to dedicate this last episode of the season of the opening school to look at what happens after Black's most common fifth move, knight b to d7.
The Black position is very stable. It's hard for White to find any weaknesses in this position, but simultaneously, Black has very little space to play on, and the maybe surest sign of this is the c8 bishop, which isn't only blocked by the knight on d7, but also by the pawn on e6. This does, however, not mean that Black will always have such a limited position. Instead, Black plans a breakthrough by moves like c5 or e5. There are a couple of rules to live by when you have a more cramped position, and one of them is that piece exchanges are beneficial for the Black position, because that would give the remaining pieces more space to share.
With that said, playing White in this position, it's important to remember that Black is the one that has the most to gain from exchanging pieces, so White should try to avoid that. Black's difficulties with finding good squares for his pieces, and this is his biggest problem in this position, and White should try to exploit that, which means that an exchange on d5 is a bad idea for White.
Yes, instead White should develop his pieces, and in this position that's best done by bishop d3. There are of course alternatives to this move, but the second most popular is queen to c2. If you like to shake the position up a bit, I recommend you to check if White's g4 is something for you. It's a move which can lead to very complicated positions.
After White's bishop to d3, Black's supposed to capture the pawn on c4, and as we see, this move forces White to recapture with his bishop. And that is why Black decides to capture in this move, because it forces White to dance around with the same piece while it allows Black to develop.
After bishop takes on c4, Black should follow up by playing b5. White has some alternatives, but to retreat to d3 is the most popular and also the most active choice. Not only does it keep pressuring the b5 pawn, but it also allows the bishop to keep the diagonal against the Black king side. The game has suddenly turned rather extreme. From the calm Black position, b5 has exploded forward, and as we soon will see, the Black position will develop quite quickly on the queen side.
Black's next move, a6, may seem slow and passive, but it's actually an important move. If Black wants to be able to play c5, the b5 pawn has to be protected. The idea behind this maneuver is to stop White from building up a strong attack against the Black king side by shaking apart the queen side, which forces White's attention in this direction.
Yes, White now has to decide what to do in order not to get swept away by Black's initiative and to be forced to dance to Black's tune, so to speak. Because of this, White plays e4, a move which allows White to open up for his own counterattack. This is followed by Black c5, and we have without a doubt reached a very packed position. What you have to remember is to make sure you come out of this with a better position, so that when the smoke has dispersed, you will have a solid position, because it is very easy to get caught up in the action and end up with a position that you can't hold together.
Always have the end game in mind. What will this particular exchange that looks really good lead to? And with that, we end not only this last episode of the opening school for the season, but also our analysis of the Slav defense. During the last couple of weeks, we've seen many different sides of the Slav defense, both calm positions and explosive ones like this one. We'll be back again with a new episode and new opening next season in the fall, so see you then.
This week we'll take a look at a puzzle composed by C.H. Stanley in 1856. You'll get 1 minute to find the checkmate in 3 moves that White performs on Black, so good luck. position, the black king is completely locked in, and even though we have more pieces than black, all of them are, so to speak, light pieces. The black knight on h8 threatens our knight on g6, with the result that our position is very unstable and that the black king can relatively easily get many opportunities to escape. Capturing on h8 with the knight is not such a good idea, because then we will lose both e7 and f8. After king e7, we can clearly say that black has managed to escape with his king, because there is no white checkmate within the next moves here. Since the black king is already completely blocked, it would be a checkmate if the bishop checked without being captured. If we play b6 with the pawn, we open up for the bishop to move to a4, which would be a checkmate. But after b6, black can of course capture our knight on g6, and after we capture back, black can't perform any other move, making it a stalemate. The best thing is therefore not to capture back, but still, there is no checkmate in 2 moves here. What we'll play is instead bishop f7 check in the first move. Well, it seems odd that we sacrifice the piece, but we get to keep our knight on g6, which we really want to. Black responds with the only possible move, knight captures on f7. Now our knight on e5 is threatened, and because we've given away our bishop, who previously guarded f7, that square will be a potential escape square for black after that we've moved our knight. So we have to find a checkmate in 2 moves in this position, and it will be a maneuver with the knight on e5. There are 3 possible options for a checkmate with the knight in 2 moves. Either knight g4 and then to f6, or knight f6 and then to d7, or knight c4 and then d6. If we play knight g4 or knight d7, black can respond by checking us on d6 with his knight. So that is why we instead choose knight c4, because we can then capture the knight when he checks us. Moreover, it also covers the f7 square when we play it to d6. So knight c4 looks to be the right second move. And can black do anything else in this position? Well, actually, black can play 6 different moves here with the knight, but all of the moves are answered by us with knight to d6 checkmate. So, now it's time for some chess history with Professor Arne Johansson. Enjoy!
Last week I talked about the first American chess magazine with the title The American Chess Magazine, and mentioned that the editor was Charles H. Stanley. Today I will say a few more words about the editor of this magazine and his background. It was in the autumn of 1846 that he started this chess magazine, and the year before he had started the chess column in the New York paper Spirit of the Times. But at that time he was a relatively new American. The different sources on the web give somewhat different times for his arrival in the United States. He was originally an Englishman, born in Brighton in 1819. When he was 20 years old, he got the chance to meet the great Howard Staunton in a 6-game match. But Staunton, proud as he was, gave him a pawn and move in odds. That he perhaps regretted later, because Stanley took his chances and won the match with 3.5 against 2.5. Well, even these facts appear with some variations among different sources, but it is at least clear that Stanley won such a match with odds against Staunton. A few years later he emigrated to the US and worked for the British consulate. But which year was it? Well, Wikipedia gives 1845, but that must actually be wrong. The site chessgames.com gives 1842 as the arrival year, but the site www.edochess.ca/Batger claims that it was 1843 and gives a rather detailed description of Stanley's career and life. Stanley met the strong American John William Shelton in several matches, and the first games of these matches that appear on chessgames.com are from 1844. Otherwise, it was 1845 that was the big year for Stanley. He started his chess column, but above all there was a match arranged between him and Rousseau from New Orleans, whose second was Morphy's uncle Ernest. Even Paul, who was then 6 years old, was present. The prize sum was as large as $1,000, and the winner was considered to become the yet unofficial American champion. Stanley won the match with ease with 15 against 8. In 1845 he also became the secretary of the New York Chess Club. The following year he published the book 31 Games at Chess, which is considered to be the first American book about a chess match. In 1846 he also started his chess magazine, but there was actually a chess magazine or a magazine with chess contents started some time before that. But its contents were not restricted to chess, which is obvious from the name The Chess Palladium and the Mathematical Sphinx. This magazine only survived for a few issues. According to the site edochess/Batgirl, Stanley got in contact with Löwenthal, who was a refugee from Hungary at that time, and helped him to some extent during his period in the US. Löwenthal later returned to Europe, but then to become a British citizen. Stanley and Löwenthal played a match that ended in a draw. Stanley got married in 1850, and in 1852 he played a drawn match against Saint-Amand, and a few years later he arranged the first American problem tourney. In this drawing from Wikipedia, we see him to the left in a game against Turner, played in Washington in 1850. Everything looked promising for him, but according to the site edochess/Batgirl, he ruined his career by an extensive use of alcohol. He participated in the first American Chess Congress, 1857, which was won by Morphy. Well, Morphy wanted to help Stanley economically and gave money to his wife, with a statement that he couldn't give it to Stanley himself, since then he would just spend it on drinking. The Stanley couple named their next daughter Paulina to honor Paul Morphy. In 1859, Stanley wrote the books Morphy's Match Games and The Chess Player's Instructor. After a 2-year period in England, he returned to the US in 1862 and met George Henry Mackenzie in a short match that he lost, and thereafter gave up his chess career. He died much later, actually, in 1901, 82 years old. Well, we end for today with a game from the peak of Stanley's chess career and wish our viewers a nice summer with lots of chess history.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode, the last one of the season. But that doesn't mean that there won't be anything to watch during the entire summer. Check in next week to watch the first of our summer specials. So bye and have a really nice summer.